Hello everyone and welcome to a WARNO video that I have been looking for quite a while. As today we're gonna analyze the trailer for the Army General campaign and try to figure out a couple more things about Army General that maybe you didn't tell us directly, as they already obviously gave us this dev blog here and a couple of other dev blogs about Army General where they talked about all the new stuff coming, for example the battle plan feature and how they manage air support, how they will have strategic choices there where you can vary between your different playthroughs of how you want to tackle the situation. But they also launched this absolutely gorgeous looking trailer for it, which also had a couple of hints about gameplay. We're gonna have a look into this now, and I will just watch it through and just pause at the moments where I would say there's some cool things to talk about. And yeah, we're gonna start here with this zoom in onto folder, and this is already kind of the first thing where I want to stop. As first of all, I love the class table kind of look, that feel of you moving around the miniatures as the general up top, deciding where units go on the class table, and really the immersion there and the graphics, such a big step up to Steel Division in my eyes. And then the other thing is, these hexes here really seem to be fitting into biomes, and that we've also have a hint on later on. But as you can see here, for example, Fulda has quite a couple of like smaller villages, and then in the center has some heavy industry and some high-rise buildings, it seems like. So those kind of biomes most likely will decide what you play on in the battles. Obviously forests and hills, here a small village, here some open grounds. So that is already pretty interesting, as this is also way cleaner than it was in Steel Division 2 in my eyes. And yeah, here you have your different units. And then the next thing that we're gonna have a look at is coming up in a second. Yes, gonna zoom out here in a bit. After this lovely zoom in on these lovely gorgeous models. I really love the figurines. They look pretty cool. They also obviously have that Rus kind of feeling to it, which is pretty cool throwback there. And yeah, 4 lovely planes. The change that they announced that they would do to planes in the dev diary, really lovely in my eyes as well. Not as much plane spam as in Steel Division 2. Another big thing that they tackle there. The air spam in Steel Division 2 Army General was just way too much, and limiting that artificially a bit is a good thing for sure. Yes, they will limit the numbers of units. And yeah, now we come in to the next part, and that is spacing. As Steel Division 2's Army General, it was cool that you could decide where you want, like with what units you want to engage, but the where you want to engage was kind of tough. Also, that's obviously based on the World War II frontlines being a bit more clear and clean than Cold War frontlines would have been, most likely, if it would have come to a fight there. But I really love that, as you can see here, there's way more room to maneuver between these units. Like, it's not a constant frontline of units standing in front of each other. There's actually really clear room to maneuver here around, to maybe go through the forests if you want to be slower, but want to flank the enemy. Obviously, there's still reason to go down the roads. They seem to be faster. And as we're gonna get the hut in a second, there's also something else there. Yes, this hut here, first of all, looks a solid bit cleaner than in Steel Division. I also like the greenish color, even a bit more maybe than the blue in-game at the moment. And then we have obviously all the names of the small little villages, which is a nice detail. We also have different kind of roads. We have the Autobahns here. Autobahn 66, Autobahn 7. And I wonder if these will have different speeds than these normal small roads. And that is the first thing. And then we see turn timer is still there. This seems to be a somewhat smaller campaign, as it only has 10 turns, which is for sure shorter than in Steel Division 2. As most there had like between 14 and 20 turns. There is also morning of June, which the most likely then will also be afternoon. My big question is, will there be a night turn as well, which would be really cool. I mean, we have night maps in WARNO, If they could make it so that every map could also be a night map, there would be potentially room for that as well. And that would be really, really fantastic in my eyes. So yeah, those are the units here. Objectives seem to be and scoring system seems to be pretty similar to Steel Division, as well as NATO starts with 100 points. So I guess they have the objective points, and if the other side takes it, then they will take the points. And then here we go into a battle, and here we have that battle plan thing. And that is where I'm coming back to the terrain type. As here it says terrain type open. The font maybe could be a bit better. That green is not really readable. But that seems like, based on that, you will roll a random map, I guess, and then fight on that map depending on what kind of terrain type it says. And then we come here down to the command capability points, which is interesting as well, as the multiplier here is not the same as in Steel Division. In Steel Division, it was just for each battle group you brought in, it doubled, or like it increased by the same amount. So if you had 2, it doubled. If you had 3, it tripled, and so on, which was a bit rough for the defender because they just started with way, way fewer points if they had like a smaller amount of forces. Here it seems to be not quite as rough, which I like as well. Could lead to more like smaller units holding off bigger unit moments, especially in multiplayer. As if we have a look here now, when they add units, it goes first to 50, so it adds 20. Then when the third one comes in, it adds 15. And then when the air support comes in, it adds 10. So it's always slightly decreasing in... So stacking 4 units at once is not as strong as like an improvement as having like going from 1 to 2, which is nice. As smaller battles with that will be better. The reinforcement points per minute multiplier though is a bit weird, as it goes from 3 to 6 to 10 to 12. So there, it's not quite the same way. I wonder if that is still to change, or if it maybe depends on what kind of unit you are adding to the battle. So that is interesting as well, as we are now about to see an auto-resolve engagement with the explosions around the units also really profiting from the improvements to explosions in WARNO in general compared to Steel Division. Looks a good bit better. And then we have the combat result, which also has an interesting hint here, as a result, the attacker's troops suffer 1 point of fatigue and the defender suffers 1 point of fatigue is added here, which is a hint on a possible another gameplay mechanic that hasn't been talked about anywhere yet, which is fatigue. So that is quite interesting as well. Outside of that, it seems to be pretty similar to Steel Division for now, with the calculation, forces present, like the points get calculated, and then losses here seem to be quite similar as well, most likely based on some die rolls as well. Both sides losing around 25% or 22% of their units, and then that gets broken down into tanks and infantry and so on as well. So that seems to be pretty standard for now. And then here you see the order of battle. You can just check on every unit. And here we also see unit prices. So as you were able to see, like the points are a lot lower than in normal multiplayer. They are similar to what they were in Steel Division, with like 50 starting point, like up to 75 starting points. And unit prices are also different than in multiplayer. They are not balanced around individual units. So M1A1 here, for example, will be most likely just as expensive to bring in as a T55. As here we have Panzergrenadier in Marder costing you 2 points, which I guess will be similar to Steel Division. 1 point for the infantry, 1 point for the Marder. So normal infantry most likely will once more cost you only 1, and most likely it won't matter if it will be Spetsnaz or if it will be KDA, which is nice as well, as that balance around unit pricing is cool for multiplayer to keep different formations competitive here, but obviously you want to have elite forces feeling really elite in Army General. And that will be the case here. As we're moving on here now. And we're gonna see some more stuff here in a second with these units here. That is where I want to stop, as I want to have a look on the small unit icons here, which have a good couple of different numbers once more. They first of all have the movement points here. These This one has 12 movement points, this one has 11. And then they seem to have attack and defense values. Though I'm not quite sure what the +7 here means and why these are in different colors here. So there is a good couple of numbers here going on. The +7 might be the extra of being dug in, I believe. Like, I guess you get a bonus on your defense value if you're not moving. Color coding for sure is a bit off here, or quite interesting. And then this arrow here, I also wonder what that means. Like, that maybe means energized or so. So maybe that's like a first turn, as we are still in turn 1, extra movement bonus or something like that. It seems like there is status effects here on the battlefield as well. This is an icon we don't have in Steel Division, I believe. So that is going to be interesting as well. The Soviets did win a minor attacking victory here. Once more, fatigue coming up. And this time the battlefield was semi-urban, as that makes sense, as it was around a fight around a village. So I guess the map will be rolled depending on that as well. Attack over here. That was open field again. And then we see units moving towards Fulda, where we see the bigger part of the battlefield. As you can see, there is major gaps here between these different units. Also, there is color coding for each side, which might be similar to what you know from Gary Crigsby Warn the East, with the color coding showing individual like corps or army formations. Like I believe it's down to corps level here. So the NATO ones having different levels of gray, white, and blue tones, and then the Warsaw Pact units being somewhere between red and yellow, it seems, or brown, which is interesting as well. Nice color coding there for sure. And then we go into some real battles here. Once more, terrain here now is open, which I'm a bit surprised by. That did look like it would be slightly forested, but yeah. Now we're gonna go into a real battle, and there are some differences to what we currently have in skirmishes as well. First of all, this screen here is really interesting. Similar to Steel Division, you can decide if you want to play yourself. In multiplayer, most likely you can decide which player gets what. And then if you play co-op against, and then you can also give it to the AI. And unlike in Steel Division, where it was like each formation had the same amount of points that it brought in and got the same amount of tickets, you can now decide, if you as a player, how many points do you want to get per minute and how many points the AI shall get per minute. And it will automatically adjust at the beginning if you switch it. If they switch it to player here, as you can see, it automatically switches around here. Now the player has 3 times the income of the AI, but you can also handle it automatically, which is really cool. Like, if you just want to have the AI using your planes and you just want to have them coming in with a couple of planes, you can reduce their points by quite a bit, and have yourself use the other points at the beginning. A really nice small little feature that goes a long way in my eyes. And morale is a feature here as well, so that is cool as well. There seems to be a morale feature, 76 per battalion, and I'm not quite sure what this max losses means, but that is a pretty interesting tool as well. Yeah, here we go into the battle, and the map that we have here is Ripple, but it is not the Ripple that we know from either Destruction mode or Conquest mode currently. For example, if you look at the minimap up here, the deployment zone of the red side is really large, and the Conquest zones, or however that works, are seemingly split in 3, and they are just like stretched in the middle. It kind of looks like this might be like a breakthrough from Steel Division kind of game mode. Yeah, I'm not sure if you're gonna have defensive structures. I don't believe so, but that is interesting. Also, currently the buying system, first of all, supply trucks cost 0, which is interesting currently. Some recon units costing 0 as well. And then it seems like you can still buy individual units as they're hovering over them and they light up. I thought you would buy them in platoons or in those batteries or groups, and you just buy them like that. I'm not a fan of buying them individually here, as in Steel Division 2 that already was a lot of always were a lot of mouse clicks. Plus, you often didn't buy some units because they were not quite as strong as others. And if you would have to buy them in forces, like if you would have to buy them in groups, then some of the weaker units might actually see more combat usage and so on. Obviously, that's a bit of limiting the freedom of the player, but it would lead to more immersion in my eyes, as you then use the platoons as real platoons, and so on. That's like a change I still would like to see. And then, yeah, we see up here, enemies currently holds 7 zones. They get a +7 here. Seems like it goes up to 2,000. Income is the normal one, one tick per minute, it seems. Time seems to be 1 hour for these battles. I wonder if that's the same for all battles, but remaining time currently up there is 1 hour. Obviously, that could also be changing. And then we also have a new bar here, though, which might be the morale bar, both already missing a bit. Though it said 305 morale earlier, and here it says 31. So I'm not quite sure where this number comes from and what exactly it means, but there seems to be another mechanic around here. So that is pretty cool. As M1 Abrams are rolling forward. Yeah, this is quite fantastic. GM flying in, not doing anything. So, yeah, this is it. This is the WARNO Army General so far. Obviously, they said they are still working on a lot of things. But these small little things there already have me absolutely excited, as a lot of these changes are things that I myself criticized in Steel Division Army General, and even a couple of ideas that I didn't thought about, but in retrospect were like, yeah, just not that cool in Steel Division, that they now start to fix here. So this really looks so promising. If they can deliver this in a really good functional way and can really go down on all the things they want to do, then this campaign will be one of the best like ways of enjoying an RTS out there. Like, this really could be the Cold War kind of Total War game that we all want. Like, this is absolutely looking fantastic, and I hope you are just as excited as I am for this. If you are so, let me know down below. Also, let me know down below what you want to see change in this. And yeah, with that said, see you in the next one, guys. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.